Coming up, we got the last word on the Galaxy S6. It's a cube that's instant, a drone that's made for filmmakers. That's all next. You got to watch before you buy.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Before You Buy is brought to you by Cashfly at CACHEFLY.com.
This episode of Before You Buy is brought to you by Prosper. Prosper is a peer-to-peer lending marketplace that connects people who are looking to borrow money with those who have money to lend. Visit prosper.com/twit and receive a $50 Visa gift card when you get a loan. And by SmartThings. SmartThings lets you monitor, control, and automate your home from wherever you are using your smartphone. Right now, SmartThings is offering Before You Buy listeners 10% off any home security or solutions kit and get free shipping in the U.S. when you go to smartthings.com/twit and use the offer code TWIT at checkout. Hey, welcome to Before You Buy. It's Twit's product review show. It's where we take the gizmos and the gadgets that we get into the brick house and we give them to the various members of the studio. That's right, a place to get honest reviews from people who honestly use technology. Now, a few weeks back, we had a chance to take a look at the Galaxy S6 Edge. Leo Laporte told us that it was bar none the best phone that he had played with, including the iPhone. It had the best camera, it had a beautiful screen, it was just gorgeously designed. But that's the S6 Edge. We also wanted to take a look at the Galaxy S6, so we gave that Android phone to the master of all Android phones, Jason Howell, and this is what he thought.
Hey, what's up? I'm Jason Howell, and I am here to review a phone that I've been waiting to review for the past month. It's the Galaxy S6 by Samsung. I gotta say, I'm super impressed by this phone. I've had a lot of fun playing around with it. It starts with 32 gigs of storage inside for around $765 unlocked. That's the unlocked price on Amazon. Goes all the way up to 128 gigs for $1,285 unlocked on Amazon. So take it for what it's worth. You can find different pricing all over the internet, as well as deals through your carriers if you sign up for a contract. So let's take a look at the specs of the Galaxy S6. This is not the Edge. This is the straightforward S6 design. It's got a 5.1-inch QHD display. That's 2560 by 1440 resolution. It's powered by an Exynos octa-core processor that Samsung makes, 3 gigs of RAM. Then, like I said, 32, 64, and 128 gigabyte storage options internally. You've got 16 megapixel rear-facing camera on the back, and then you have a 5 megapixel front-facing camera for your selfies. A 2550 milliamp hour battery underneath that's non-removable. The S5 was a 2800 milliamp hour battery, so it's kind of a reduction in capacity for battery here. And it is running 5.0.2 Lollipop out of the box. First, let's take a look at the design, which is absolutely one of the killer features of the Samsung Galaxy S6. They made some changes from the previous iteration, and I think they've all been for the best here. It's a super narrow, thin device, pretty light, nice rounded aluminum edges along the sides. Both the front and the back are glass, so you're going to need to be a little careful handling the device because it can break on both sides now, so beware of that. Down at the bottom here, you have the home button, which I've never been a huge fan of, but now it acts as a fingerprint sensor. So literally, you just tap your finger on the home button and hold it there for a split second. It'll recognize your fingerprint and pass you through to the home screen, and it works really well. I love this. It's going to be hard for me to not have it on my own phone. On the back, you have the heart rate monitor, which is kind of a feature that Samsung's been adding. Yeah, I could give or take on that one. There's an IR blaster up top if you want to use your phone as a remote control for some of your devices at home. Samsung Pay is a part of the Galaxy S6. That's was once known as Loop Pay. It was an acquisition not too long ago to enable contactless payments at stores, and its compatibility is kind of crazy. It's using magnets to talk to the registers, but that has not actually been activated software side. So once that is activated sometime in the coming months, this phone will be compatible with that. So that'll be a feature then. The battery, of course, is non-removable. It's stuck in there. It's the first Galaxy line phone where the battery doesn't pop out. And also there's no micro SD for storage expansion. So they had to kind of cut those in order to get this new striking design. Personally, I like those changes, but true fans of those features are going to be a little disappointed. Now, as for the display, I think, once again, the display is just, it's top notch. It's gorgeous. Colors are vibrant. Everything's super sharp. This is a QHD display. So, it's even more resolution than your 1080p display. For a 5.1-inch device, I'm personally not convinced that that's necessary. Yes, things look amazing, but that comes at the cost of your battery, which I'm going to talk about here in a second. Personally, I just feel like QHD is kind of overkill for this particular form factor, and I think they would have done better with just sticking to 1080p and giving you more of that battery life as a result. So speaking of battery, I would say battery is one of the downsides of this device. It's actually a smaller capacity battery than was on the S5, and I don't know. It's just kind of mediocre performance. I definitely had to charge up throughout the day, hoping that I get through to the end, and it didn't happen pretty regularly. I will say on the plus side, though, that quick charging is on board here. So if you have a quick charger, it's going to charge your phone super fast. I think it's somewhere around like 6 hours per 15 minutes. So if you do have to top it off throughout the day, it doesn't take very long to do that. It also supports Qi and PMA wireless charging. So keep that in mind. Now, as for the cameras, you've got the front-facing camera and the rear-facing camera. Without a doubt, this is the phone that you get if taking pictures with your phone is the most important thing to you. I don't think that you can get much better. Just to kind of show you here, if we double tap the home button, it takes you right to the camera app. And the volume rocker on the side actually, here, let's see here. Oh, there I am. Actually acts as a shutter. Hi. Yeah, it takes it. So you can use your volume button to take the pictures, which is kind of a nice feature. I actually really like the camera software here. Samsung's refined it a lot, and to add a lot, to make things just a little bit easier to find inside. But as far as the software is concerned, as far as the performance of the camera itself, it's excellent in low life. Both the front and back cameras are the same in that they have a 1.9 f-stop lens. They just have different megapixel capacities there. That basically means that it lets in more light. And without a doubt, this is the best camera that I've used on an Android device. And a lot of people are comparing it to the iPhone as far as, side by side, the pictures are as good as each other. So very cool stuff. It's super fast to snap. We'll go ahead and take it. And it responds really, really quickly. There's also some extra features like slow motion, auto high dynamic range, panoramic. There's a pro mode that allows you to kind of dial in and get a little bit more specific as far as how you take your pictures. That's also really nice for macro shots. And the front-facing camera, I will say, kind of feels a little like it's a wide-angle lens, and I'm not sure how I feel about that. If your face ends up on the edges, it kind of stretches out a little bit. But I think your mileage may vary as far as that's concerned. I don't feel like it really affected the quality of my images that much. Overall, best camera you can find on an Android device right now, and I can say that without a doubt. As for performance of the device, as I said earlier, Samsung is using its own Exynos processor inside the Galaxy S6. Bypassing the Snapdragon 810, which was what they were going to go with initially. They said they had problems with heat, but I think it kind of works out in Samsung's favor that they're using their own processor here. And I think it's a pretty good switch for them, and I have a feeling we're going to see a lot more of this. Found everything to be pretty speedy. Browsing was fast, save for a few hiccups when I did my Verge test when it was first loading, but once everything loaded in, everything was super smooth. Gaming was smooth as well. Real Racing 3 is my current favorite to test out gaming performance, and everything moved without a hiccup. TouchWiz in general, about as smooth as I've experienced, but that's, with the asterisk involved that TouchWiz kind of tends to slow some things down at times. For example, going to the side screen, there's the flipboard screen that sometimes takes a while to snap into place. Right now, it looks like it's doing all right, but Overall, I would say I encountered a few handoff issues between Wi-Fi and mobile networks if I was moving from one location to another where it wouldn't automatically connect to Wi-Fi and I wasn't quite sure. I had to turn it off, turn it back on again for that to happen. So that was a little frustrating, but you know, that could have been the wireless access point more than the phone. It was very hard for me to determine that. Now, speaking of software, this is TouchWiz, and Samsung has definitely kind of gone in and brought TouchWiz a little bit further forward to kind of match some of Lollipop's design choices. I wouldn't say it's definitely, you know, totally looking like a Lollipop device, though. Samsung really kind of sticks to their vision of what Android OS should look like, and that's more in line with, you know, their kind of design choices as opposed to what's been chosen for the platform in general. I am a fan of the camera software. I thought the camera software was great. There's a theme store that you can access in the settings if you want to, you know, totally apply a new theme to your device, and there's a bunch of free options in there as well as paid. You have some motion gestures that are kind of included. For one example, I can move my hand over the top and it'll take a snapshot. Not necessary, but kind of neat. Also, if you have a contact showing on the screen and you pick the phone up and put it to your ear, it'll automatically call that contact. Little things like that that I suppose could be kind of handy. There's a split screen mode, so if you hold down your multitasking button, it will pop up two different apps on both sides of the screen. It can help for multitasking there. And there is a wake up command that only works with S-Voice. It doesn't work with Google Now. So if you wake up the screen from off, it will do a search using S-Voice, and you might not want to use Samsung's S-Voice, so that's kind of a bummer. Fingerprint implementation is bang on. It works almost without a hitch every time, takes you right through, and I just found it super handy, in particular with LastPass for managing my passwords. Instead of having to type in my long master password, I just put my fingerprint on there, and it would automatically do it for me. It's a game changer, and I'm going to be really sad to not have that feature. And pre-installed software, just so you know, takes up around 9 gigs of space on here, and you can't uninstall it. You can only hide it. So keep that in mind. Maybe you want to get a higher capacity version of this phone when you get it. All right, so let's take a look at the pros and the cons of the Galaxy S6. First, the pros. The camera is fantastic, best camera on an Android phone right now. The display is super sharp, very vivid, and fully detailed, maybe to a fault, which I'll talk about in a second. The design is, I think, is just a striking design. It's super comfy, and it feels good holding this phone in your hand. And then the fingerprint sensor. Man, I'm going to be really bummed to not have a fingerprint sensor on my Nexus 6 when I go back to it. As far as the cons, the battery performance, I really wish they would have maybe gone with a lower res display or tweaked battery or, you know, higher capacity, because it doesn't perform as well as it should. TouchWiz is better than it has been, but that's not saying a whole lot. Some of the software feels kind of unnecessary. And then the non-removable battery and lack of micro SD card slot is going to bum out fans of previous versions of this device that have relied on those features. But overall, I would have to say, without a doubt, buy on this. It's a little expensive, obviously. It's a premium line device, but you are going to get what you pay for. The Samsung Galaxy S6 is a phenomenal phone, and it's one of my favorites of the year right now. And I don't know, I'm pretty bummed that I have to send this back. My name is Jason Howell. You can catch my reviews on All About Android and, of course, on Before You Buy here. And thanks for watching my review of the Samsung Galaxy S6.
That was Jason Howell with a buy for the Samsung Galaxy S6. If you're looking for a next-gen phone and maybe the edge isn't quite right for you, well, the strain open vanilla X6 may be your next phone. Now, we wanted to take a look at something a little bit different, so we talked to Miriam Jawar and we gave her the Instacube, and this is what she thought.
It's Miriam with Before You Buy, and what you see here in front of me is called the Instacube. It is essentially a photo frame that you can hang somewhere, or, well, probably not hang, it's a little thick, but put on a shelf or something, and it shows you your Instagram feed, right? Kind of cool. There's lots of digital photo frames out there. Some of them are connected nowadays, but you have to understand the context of this product. It was launched, it was crowdfunded about 2.5, 3 years ago now. And for a long time, it looked like we weren't going to get any product from these people. Now, you know that crowdfunding doesn't mean you're going to get something necessarily, but they did reach their goal. I actually was a backer. I paid $100 for this device, and it took them forever. We all but given up on them, and they finally shipped this thing late last year. And unfortunately, it was designed 3 years ago, so the guts of it are horrendously terrible. It's basically a very cheap Android tablet from 3 years ago, shoehorned into this enclosure and turned into a digital photo frame that connects to your Instagram feed and displays it for you. So, you know, I wanted to show you quickly what it looks like. There is, first of all, it has this kind of retro vibe with, you know, the Polaroid kind of look and feel of basically looks like the Instagram app icon, which is really cool. You can see that it has like the top half is a soft touch finish on it. The bottom half is a shiny gray finish. And then there is this rainbow kind of look around. These are actually stickers. That's how cheap this thing is. There, you could peel them off. They're not painted on or anything like that. In the front, you have this really kind of low quality 600 by 600 pixel display. It looks kind of bluish here because it is kind of bluish in real life. And so it's a capacitive screen, but it's an incredibly cheap plastic cover on top of this. And as you can see, it's also a fingerprint magnet and reflects light like no one's business. The Instacube logo is cool though. And then on top, you've got 3 buttons. So these are kind of interesting, actually. You've got a power on and off button. It's round. And then you get this grid button, which is square. And then you get a heart button. And so the heart button lets you do what you expect. You can like a photo as you see it. Let me go to one that I actually like. And this is where you're going to see how abysmal the UI is. As you can see, it's very slow. And so you push the little heart, and guess what? It hearts it. If you push again on the same picture, I guess it doesn't even unheart it. So you pretty much have to go in the settings like this. Let me show you. And unheart it. There's an option to do that. Then this grid view here brings you to this kind of cube UI that lets you pick things like the liked library of your photos you've liked. Hashtag, I have a hashtag Latergram pre-programmed in here. So it hasn't loaded the pictures. Let's see if it actually does it. But it's going to load all the Instagram photos that are public that say Latergram and do a feed of that. There you go. And so that's really it in a nutshell. It's designed to show you your Instagram feed in this manner and to loop through like this all day happily. And when you walk by it and you see a picture you like, you can push the heart button on top here and heart it like this can of beans. But the strange thing about it, and this is kind of the killer flaw, is, you know, other than the cheapness of the device to start with, is that the battery lasts about 2 hours. So if you're trying to have this run, or maybe 4 hours, I'm being a little facetious here, but it doesn't last nearly even half a day. So what you're saying is that if you have this on a shelf, you pretty much have to connect it to a micro USB charger, because the battery on this thing is just terrible. And so that's one major drawback. And other than the cheapness and the display quality, you saw the software is very slow and unresponsive. And that's because this thing is running like an Android tablet underneath that is like from 3 years ago and possibly cost $30 3 years ago. And you know how abysmal these were. Probably single core with 512 megs of RAM or 256 megs of RAM. You can also do gestures like this and see a grid view. And you can see it's loading the grid view. So let's wait for this to happen, shall we? Yeah, it is loading my grid view off of Wi-Fi. And you know what, here we have good Wi-Fi. So it's really not a Wi-Fi performance issue. Anyway, I'm going to spare you this, but you get the feel for what I'm trying to say here. This is not really a great product. And then here's the killer. You can actually reboot this thing and into the Android desktop, right? Because it is running Android. And you know what happens then is you realize that behind this panel is actually an 800 by 600 landscape tablet that goes edge to edge and is being masked to be 600 by 600. And when you do that, you obviously see part of the user interface hidden behind the black frame. So you can't even use this as an Android tablet if you wanted to recycle it somewhere, unless you take it apart. So I'm not sure it's worth $100 in a nutshell. It's cool. It's a cool idea. It took a while to deliver. It was a pretty painful, campaign that they had in terms of satisfying their users. Lots of people were complaining. Nobody thought it was ever going to ship. They shipped, so kudos for that. But what they did ship is exactly what they promised, but a very, very poor implementation of it. So, pros and cons. Pros, well, it's cool. It's an interesting idea. Cons, it's terribly executed. The performance of the device and the software are terrible. The display is not very good. The battery life is abysmal. And it's built like crap. It's really the cheapest possible materials you can put together. It scratches just looking at it. So, yes, this is an absolute, definite don't buy. I have spent $100 on this. It's my own. I am glad that I contributed to it because I believed in the idea. But this is what crowdfunding is like. You pledge, you might not get anything, and if sometimes you do get something, it might actually not be very awesome. So this is the Instacube here on Before You Buy, and I'm Myriam Jouar.
So it's slow, it's poorly executed, it scratches just by looking at it, and it's built like crap. That means that Myriam Jouar is going to give the Instacube a don't buy. Well, there's a lot of frames out there that's just not that one that you're going to want. Now, but when we come back, we're going to go ahead and jump back into NAB. We wanted to take a look at a couple more segments that we took at the show. But before we do that, let's go ahead and thank the first sponsor of this episode of Before You Buy. Now, let me ask you a question. What if I told you that in 5 days, simply by going onto a website, you could have $35,000 to spend as you wish? What would you spend it on? Would you pay off those high-rate credit card bills? Would you pay off student loans? Would you go into that house project or maybe even start your own business? Well, folks, that's what you can get with Prosper. Prosper is a different way to borrow money. It's not going to your friends or to your family. It's not going to a traditional bank and groveling in front of a bank manager trying to convince him or her that you do deserve a loan. Prosper is a way to get money from people who want to lend it. That's right, it connects those who are looking for a loan with those who have money to lend. What could be more progressive than that? I'll face it, there just aren't that many good ways to borrow money, which is why Prosper was created in the first place. You could borrow up to $35,000 in as few as 5 days, and you could use that money for just about anything. I remember when I was running my own business, at one point, business was booming. I had a lot of contracts, but I needed a bridge loan just to pay off my employees until the contracts started rolling in. Well, I went with all my spreadsheets and my numbers, and I was confident I was going to be able to get a loan with no problem once I showed these business managers that they were going to get paid back in a matter of months, not in years. But I went from one bank to the next and to the next and to the next. And because they didn't understand my business model, which was new at the time, and because they didn't believe my numbers, it took me forever to get a loan. Well, I wouldn't have to do that today with Prosper. Prosper is a place to get the money that you need when you need it. Don't rack up more debt on your credit cards. Don't go to your friends and family and stress those relationships with a request for money. Instead, check your low rate instantly without affecting your good credit by going to prosper.com/twit. And right now, and for a limited time, Prosper is offering Twit viewers a $50 Visa gift card with your low interest loan. You can get up to $35,000 in your account in as few as 5 days and that $50 Visa gift card all by going to prosper.com/twit. That's prosper.com/twit for this special offer just for Twit viewers. And we thank Prosper for their support of Before You Buy. Let's go ahead and take a trip back over to NAB. That's right, the National Association of Broadcasters show in Las Vegas. Both Scott Wilkinson and I were there taking a look at some of the latest and greatest in broadcast tech. And I thought you might want to take a look at a camera that's wooden. Okay, so you've got your gear, your setup. You've got a nice camera, maybe some nice audio gear. Maybe you even got yourself the right lighting. But now you need something to put all that gear on top of, which is why we're here at Wooden Camera. I'm standing next to Ryan, who's going to explain some of the newer gear that they brought out for your rig. Ryan, thank you very much for talking to us.
Thank you. So we've got many new options at the show today, and one of which is our new matte box, which is on the front of this rig here. So it's a 4x5.65 matte box with 2 rotating stages. Each stage can also have it also has a tray catcher on the bottom, so you don't accidentally drop your filter through to the floor. And then it has NATO standard quick releases on each end here, which is great for positioning monitors using our new NATO lock magic arm. So you can unlock, slide to the end, and quickly remove your monitor. You can also go onto the side of your matte box if you want to attach your monitor in front of you for handheld shooting. And then on the other side here, we can spin this around. We've got our new D box, which is for power distribution. So it enables you to choose your own connectors. You can choose from D-tap, 4-pin Hirose, 4-pin or 2-pin Limo, 3-pin Fisher, and a 5-volt USB. So it's completely customizable. You have the ability to change the connectors yourself even. So it's easy to do. You just unscrew these 4 screws, and you can pop the connector box out and insert a new panel yourself.
One of the things that you've done that I really like is you've put in the voltage regulators in line so that you don't have to worry about accidentally cross-connecting something or mis-soldering something and sending the wrong voltage to your devices.
Yeah, that's right. So this is a good example of that. This is a 5-volt USB. It provides up to 3 amps, and it has the voltage regulator built in here. So you can disconnect it and pull this out and then put another connector in and get 12 volts out or 24 volts, just depending on which one you use.
Of course, this is to build up a rig of your choosing. You get to choose what you have on it, what kind of devices are powered, and what kind of batteries you use. But I think one of the things that makes the wooden camera approach so unique is the customizability. You have so many mounting points, so many different devices, and like the matte box, they're so precision. We were playing with this before we started filming, and it feels right. You don't ever feel like you're forcing apart. How long have you been doing this, and why does your gear seem so nice?
Yeah, so I started as a camera operator, so it gave me a good background for the knowledge for what's needed. And we've been in business for manufacturing about 4 years. And so we started with simple products, and then as we learned and evolved, we added a lot more products that are complex, including video distribution, power distribution, and now the matte box.
Ryan, thank you very much for talking to us. Now, if our audience wants to find out more about wooden camera, they want to see where maybe they could pick up some parts for a rig of their own, where do they go?
It's woodencamera.com.
There you have it, woodencamera.com. I'm Father Robert from NAB 2015. We'll see you next year. That was actually the very last booth that we took a look at. Carson needed us to take a look at just one last thing because he really liked it. And I got to admit, the tech that they have is great because it enables you to use the tech you already have in a better way. Speaking of using tech that you already have in a better way, one of the things that I've been interested in doing is building these things, quadcopters, multi-rotor craft. Some people call them drones. But there's a difference between building a quadcopter for fun, which is what I prefer to do, and building a quadcopter for the perfect video shot, the smooth, silky, blah, blah, blah shot, the overhead 360 view, the selfie view. These are the kinds of capabilities that we're starting to see in quadcopters that are released from manufacturers like DJI and 3D Robotics. But here we took a look at the Aries BlackBird.
You want a quadcopter, but you don't want to build it. You want a capable aerial camera, but you don't want to buy parts from a dozen different vendors and bodge them together. You want a stable multi-rotor, but you don't want to get a master's in quadology just to make it fly. If that's you, then you were the person that the engineers at Aries had in mind when they built the BlackBird X10, an all-in-one, almost ready-to-fly aerial photography and videography platform. When the folks at Aries say that the BlackBird is ready to fly out of the box, they mean it. The kit literally includes everything you need to be up and flying within 30 minutes without having to purchase or find any additional parts or tools. That includes the body with pre-assembled electronics and motors, 2 sets of self-fastening props, 5300 mAh 3-cell lithium poly battery, prop guards, transmitter, a 2.4 GHz signal repeater that pushes the safe operational range past 1600 feet, and accessories. They've even included the screwdriver and wrench that you need to attach the prop guards and tighten the props. With everything out of the box, you can plug in the chargers for the BlackBird's battery and the signal booster and let them go while we finish the kit. You can run the BlackBird without prop guards, but I'd advise against it until you're comfortable with its handling characteristics. Simply remove the front 2 screws from the end of each arm, attach the prop guards, then secure them with the included extension screws. With the prop guards on, install the props, remembering that you want clockwise props, the ones with the black caps, on the front left and rear right arms, and counterclockwise props, the ones with the white tops, on the front right and rear left. Use the included wrench to grab the motor housing to make tightening easier. The props and prop nuts are integrated, and they're reverse threaded against the rotation of the motor. In other words, they'll tighten themselves in operation. Once the battery is charged, easy to gauge because each battery has a LCD indicator, you can slide it into the back of the Blackbird and lock it into place. The Blackbird has a 16-megapixel still camera that can also shoot video at 1080p 30 frames a second. Toggling transmitter switch 3 tilts the camera up and down, and once you've locked the camera into an angle, it will try to hold that angle by automatically tilting up and down, as well as flying the craft around the target. Video can be transmitted to an Android or iOS device clipped to the top of the transmitter. Just load the app on your device of choice, sync it to the repeater, and voila, instant FPV. Kinda. There is a considerable lag on a Wi-Fi connected device, so while it can be used to position the camera, it's not really for flight. For those who want the best possible video and stills, the Blackbird has a micro SD slot on the underside to record high-quality media. It also has buttons for starting and stopping video, as well as a trigger for stills. After taking the Blackbird outside, calibrating the compass, and locking onto a GPS signal, it's time to fly. The central feature of the Blackbird is a camera-driven auto-hover. Unlike the throttles of traditional transmitters, the throttle of the Blackbird is spring-loaded to center. Arming the Blackbird will start up the motors. Pushing the throttle up from center will make the Blackbird rise. Releasing the throttle will put the Blackbird into hover. Only pushing down from center will make it descend. The Blackbird includes return to home in case of signal loss and is actually quite good with range. But if you've ever flown a home-built quadcopter, it will take some time to properly fly the Blackbird because it's been built as a camera platform first. It's got plenty of power and stability, but it doesn't fly like an acrobatic quad. In GPS mode, the Blackbird is smooth and responsive to stick movement, but only when you're holding the controls off-center. The moment the sticks center, the Blackbird will assume that it should hold its current position and altitude. Furthermore, the camera will actually fly the Blackbird to keep its target in frame. This will look like uneven flight, but it's actually better for video and photo. The effect is unnerving to those who are accustomed to flying quads in full manual or just with self-leveling, but it also makes sense. As a camera platform with a quadcopter attached, the Blackbird should do everything it can to stabilize the picture, even at the expense of flight characteristics. The 5300 mAh battery holds enough juice for about 15 minutes of aggressive flight, or up to 25 minutes of station keeping with no wind. Now, as a camera platform, let's talk about video quality. At least I would like to talk about video quality. You see, I took the Blackbird out to fly 4 times. Each time the Blackbird failed to record its aerial sessions, despite the flashing green light on the transmitter and the recording light on my phone. The last time I took it out, I even recorded while it was on the ground, tested the card in my laptop to make sure it had recorded, then started the recording again and took flight. At the end, nothing. Later, I lucked out and it happened to be recording while I was practicing in the parking lot, and the camera and the self-stabilization is actually incredible. At one point, I was comfortable enough with the auto hover to lift the Blackbird into the air, then put aside the controller and fly a second quadcopter. There is so much promise in the Blackbird, but unfortunately the camera issue is a deal breaker. You can't have an aerial videography platform if it won't record every time without fail. You especially can't have one that tells you that it's recording while no data is being written to the memory card.
I actually do like the Blackbird. It is a decent device. It's got a nice wingspan, so it's nice and stable. I like the idea of having the camera platform first. I mean, some people could see that as a con, but if you're looking for an aerial filming platform, that's what you want. It's got many good things. I like the auto hover. I like the simple operation. I like the feature of the range extender that they have on the transmitter. This thing was really designed for people who want to film first and maybe fly second. But the biggest con, the thing that just pulls it away, has got to be the fact that it didn't work. If it's going to be a camera platform first, it has to work every single time. Any photographer or videographer is going to tell you that the worst camera is a camera that's unpredictable. If it says it's recording and you come back and it didn't get anything, you've just destroyed a shoot. And that shoot could be worth thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars. That's just simply unacceptable. The other thing they don't like is the proprietary nature of some of the parts, specifically this battery. You're going to want to get more than one battery, and these are going to cost you $125 a pop. Now, this is just a standard battery that they encased inside of this enclosure. In fact, I've already opened this thing up. I know how to put a regular battery inside of here, so it's kind of silly that Aries is going to make this Blackbird so that you have to go ahead and buy another one of their batteries. The pricing is going to change. Right now it's about $700, but with the release of the Phantom 3 and with 3DR coming out with their Solo, you're probably going to see this drop down to the $600, $500 range, which still does make it a bargain. It's a bargain at the pricing once they fix it. What I would say about the Blackbird right now is that it's an absolute don't buy, but it is a absolute prime potential possibility, that's a lot of potentials, for a redemption. If they can fix the recording glitch, if they can maybe drive the price down a little bit, this could go from a don't buy to an absolute buy. Now, when we come back, we've got a first look at a product that might turn your iPhone, your iPad, your Android device, your Windows laptop into a high-definition audio device. But before we do that, let's go ahead and thank the second sponsor of this episode of Before You Buy, and it's SmartThings. Now, SmartThings was rated as the #1 home automation product at CES 2015. And the reason why it was is because it's so good. Now, there are a lot of home automation products on the market, but they all suffer from the same problem, and that is you have to buy all your modules from them. What SmartThing has done, and what makes it such a unique solution, is they've given you this. This is the hub. And this hub doesn't just control everything from the door sensor and the smart sensor and the light control and the door switch and the audio box. It controls other devices. If you want to integrate your drop cam or your Nest thermometer or let's say your Sonos audio system into your home automation, you can do it with the hub. Now, my personal favorite part is this. This is a smart sensor that I can carry on my person. That means that my home knows when I come up to the door. And it can do things like unlock the door, turn on the lights, set the temperature to where I want it, maybe even turn on my favorite music. This is the sort of thing that we dreamed of when we started creating our smart homes in our minds. Now, if you've dabbled with home automation in the past, stop dabbling and get smart by getting SmartThings. SmartThings works for iOS, it works for Android, it works for Windows Phone. And because it's an open platform, it will work as well with its own sensors as it does with connected devices from Dropcam, Schlage locks, Honeywell thermostats, and many more. Again, it was a CES 2015 Editor's Choice Award, and you should try it and see exactly why it got that acclaim. You can use it for home automation to turn on your lights or off from your phone. You could use it from security so that you could get an alert from your drop cams every time someone approaches your home. You could use it for energy savings, so it will automatically drop your thermostat when you don't want to be using up power. And you could use it for water detection to find out if water is building up in your basement. These are just a few of the things that you can design on your own, turning your home into a true smart home. Now, right now, there's no monthly required fees, and the kits start at just $189. SmartThings is an affordable way to create your smart home. And just for our TWiT audience, SmartThings is offering you a chance to save even more. Get 10% off any home solutions kit or security kit and get free shipping in the United States when you go to smartthings.com/twit and use the offer code TWIT. That's smartthings.com/twit and use the offer code TWIT. And we thank SmartThings for their support of Before You Buy. One last bit, a first look. Now, for a while, people have been looking at products like the Pono player or even the Philo that we had on Before You Buy a few weeks back as a way to get better quality audio out of your phone, your laptop, etc. You see, the problem is the audio that's built into our devices. It's good, it's decent, it works. But if you're an audiophile, you're going to notice the pops, you're going to notice the hiss, you're going to notice the subpar DAX and noise isolation that you'll get on everything from your latest Galaxy S6 to your iPhone. Well, there is a way to get around that, and that is to not use that onboard audio at all. And that's what HRT did with the i-dSp and the DSP. Simply put, this takes a digital to analog converter and a DSP and an ultra clean headphone amplifier and makes it a separate unit from your device. Here's how it works. This is the DSP. This will work with your Windows box. This will work with your Mac OS X box. This will work with your Android device. It's simply a USB device, so I can take any one of these plugs that I need for that particular device and plug it into my Windows laptop. Or I can use it with this cord so that I could plug it into my USB-L equipped Android device. Once I've got that connected, I can play pretty much any file format that I want. This will support MP3, AAC, FLAC, PCM, Apple and Windows lossless, and all streaming audio and video formats. And because it has an onboard DAC that's separate from the power supply that's inside your phone or your laptop, you're not going to get that hum. Because it has a DSP, it means you can do signal processing inside the device so that you can get really, really nice audio. Get rid of all those artifacts. And because it's powered over the USB bus, it means you're not going to have a whole lot of cables hanging off your device. Now that's good. This is better. This is the i-dSp. They specifically designed this for iDevices, so your iPad or your iPhone. They could have gone with the standard dongle approach, and you would have had to use a dongle. If you go back to my wide, you'd have to use a dongle like this from a Lightning to USB or from a 30-pin to a USB, and then you'd have to put the connectors so that it would do something like that. And that's not elegant. That's a whole lot of mess hanging off your device. Instead, they devised the ISP so that it will take a standard 30-pin or Lightning connector to USB and it integrates it as part of the device. Now that's pretty slick. I mean, that's the kind of engineering that I like to see. It's got all the same specs as the regular DSP. It supports all the same formats. It is bus powered, but this one will work on a Lightning phone. It will work on a 30-pin, the standard iPhone connector, iPad connector, and it will give you all that same audio quality that you would get off of the little red box. Now, each of these is $69. It started off as a Kickstarter campaign. We've got a couple in the studio. What we want to do is we want to show this to a couple of the audio files that we have and see if this finally turns your handheld device into that ultra high definition device of choice. Now that's all we've got for this episode of Before You Buy. Remember that you can always get all of our episodes at twit.tv/BYB. If you go there, you'll find not just our back episodes and not just our notes of pros and cons, but you'll also find a place where you could subscribe so that every episode is automatically downloaded into your device of choice. Also, please follow me on Twitter. You're going to find me at twitter.com/PadreSJ. That's at PadreSJ. If you follow me, you'll find out what I do for every episode. I always announce it ahead of time. You'll be able to suggest products that you want on future episodes of Before You Buy, and you'll also see what a day in the life of Padre SJ looks like. Thanks to everyone who submitted reviews for this episode of Before You Buy. Of course, that's Jason Howell, that's Miriam Jawar, and that's Chad Johnson. And special thanks to Lisa and to Leo, my super producer Karsten, and my absolutely fabulous TD, Mr. Cranky Hippo Brian Burnett. Brian, can you tell the folks where they can find you every week?
Every week doing Know How with you on Thursdays. We have a lot of fun doing that show, so check it out.
Yeah, please do. Until next time, I'm Father Robert Ballecer, just reminding you that you got to watch before you buy.